The origin of Aslan's name comes from C.S. Lewis's book, The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, from the Chronicles of Narnia. And his name means nobility, royalty, and kingly one. Now, his middle name, Joseph, because I was told at 9 years old that I would never be able to have kids. And like everybody, you don't know the God I serve. So his middle name, Joseph, means God has added unto me. And so God promised me a son, and he gave him to me, and I consider him my promised son.
I remember the night he was born, on a snowy night, and got me out in the snow to get there, and he's already born.
Oh my goodness, Azlan growing up he was very independent. He was a grateful baby, which was kind of surprising because anything that we got him, if we gave him a ball or a toy or whatever, he was always so thankful. And yeah, energetic, very curious. He'd get into stuff. Always athletic. He loved sports, loved to read, loved to study, and ask a lot of questions. He did ask a lot of questions. Very good baby, very good child, very good teenager. Never had any problems with him. He, we bumped heads every once in a while, but he's always been respectful. Always been respectful.
I played football for a little bit. I was pretty good at football. I started getting taller and my knees were growing faster than my body. So I had to stop playing football, but basketball was my first love. Played golf for a little bit. I won the Tiger Woods little PGA Tour when I was like 5 years old.
Well, I was more into golf with him than basketball. In growing up, Azlan participated in junior events in the city. He played well in the junior events. I coached him in golf. And so, but I also was instrumental in supporting him in basketball.
You got to meet Tiger Woods, didn't you? Or
Yeah. He was at Tiger Woods' clinic over at Park Hill Golf Course. He participated in that. So, and he participated, like I said, in junior events that they had, and was a good player. But I think as most kids grow up, they participate in the sport they liked, and I think Azlan liked basketball a bit more than he liked golf. So, but it didn't bother me in that he liked basketball. I wanted him to be able to pick and enjoy whatever sport he wanted to participate in. We didn't just participate in sports, but we did things like go to Disneyland, go on trips, go to the ocean, go out to dinner, breakfast, lunch, things of that nature, shop together, go to the movies, just things, like I said, what grandpas and grandsons do.
And we did attend so many of the basketball games.
Basketball was something that he was just like, drawn to. Drawn to Michael Jordan, drawn to Charles Barkley, and I really didn't know how much he was interested in it until he was telling one of my friends all of the different history of all of the older players. Magic Johnson, what's the other guy? Larry Bird, all of the older players. And he knew their history and he knew their numbers, the teams they played on.
There's a story even when my mom said I had the ball in my hand. I couldn't walk yet, but I crawled up to the rim and pulled myself up and dunked the ball. And my mom said she looked at my dad and he looked at her and they said,
What if? Do you think he's gonna play ball? And he goes, well, he might play football. And I said, what if he played basketball?
Now, last year you looked at that game against East and George Washington. That was kind of the marquee matchup of the 2009 season. No question.
I am Rayfield Whittington, and I am Azlan Williams' pastor, and also was one of his mentors as far as basketball is concerned. And I noticed Azlan, first of all, when they came to our church about 12 years ago. He came as a young child, and one thing I noticed about him was that he was very studious. He was very dedicated to church, dedicated to basketball, and that stood out. You know, a lot of kids like to play, but Azlan was a serious young man, which caught our eye, and we noticed that he was always involved with everything that we asked of the church, of our youth department. And also, he practiced on his own. He was dedicated, and he just stood out because he was really a self-motivated young man.
I coached him when he was playing with the 4th and 5th graders. And I took him to 2 championships. So his dad coached him all his life too, but I also got to coach him. I love basketball. And there were some skills that I could teach him. Free throws, boxing out, things like that. I couldn't show him what his dad could show him. You know, his dad would show him how to dunk and things like that, things that boys could do. And so I was still his mom. You know, I was still his mom, like the game where I told him, you know, this is my assistant coach was like, Coach, are you sure about this? I said, you know, this isn't even about basketball anymore. This is a mom thing, and I suggest you stay out of it. But it was something that where we could bond, where he wouldn't go to his dad about certain things. He could come to me and say, well, you know, what about my free throw on this? And, well, do it this way. And I was able to show him as opposed to coaching him like a dad. So I believe that has made a big bond with us. I cherish that.
Basketball to me has been a lifesaver. I mean, it's been that thing that I've gone to and I didn't know what else to do. It has, it's been such a safe haven and a place that I know I can go to when all seems lost and everything that, I guess you could say when it feels like the weight of the world has been on my shoulders, that little orange ball has been the weightlifter. Also, it's been a way I could praise God and worship God through my life, and definitely a way of escape. And it's been one of the gifts that God has provided me and given me to be the best that I can be and work as hard as I can when everybody's watching and when nobody's watching.
He was an introvert that could thrive in an extrovert environment. That's how, and he was a lot like me. I didn't know that. Yeah, didn't need to have the group around him. But when he showed up every once in a while, he was the life of the party per se. So
Taylor, from day one, so he moved from Omaha. From day one, he became my best friend like that. And we have been good friends through and through, like from day one to today. We've been good friends, and I've been there with him nonstop through every up and down. And he has a story too. And Conrad, we've known each other since middle school, but he came to Montbello his junior year, and we became good friends and hit it off.
In real life, Aslan's a goofball. Whatever y'all see about Azlan out here in the world, he's a good dude to everybody that, don't know him like that. If you know Aslan like I know Aslan, he's a goofball. He's a cornball, and it's great.
That's a long story, but Azlan and I have known each other for years. He went to the same middle school as all my cousins, and I would go to basketball games, and I would see him there. Then we went to the same high school, but Azlan didn't like me for my sophomore and most of my junior year.
He was one of those people I didn't particularly like.
So he was a freshman, I was a sophomore. So we went to the same high school, but Azlan didn't like me because I was loud and I was obnoxious.
He was always just loud, and I was very quiet in high school and very laid back. And so our personalities just didn't match. But we went to a camp up in it's called Crooked Creek up in Colorado in the mountains, and for Young Life. And man, like, we just hit it off. He was completely different than what I portrayed him to be.
We ended up going to Young Life camp my junior year, his sophomore year. I think that's what it was. And in camp, we just became friends. We realized that we had a lot in common, that our hearts were really on fire for God and trying to, move more towards that. And yeah, Young Life Camp, Crooked Creek, 20, I don't know what year, is when we actually became friends. And then after that, we stopped talking for a long while, and Azlan came in my job, and he was basically looking homeless and broken, and we just became like best friends at that point.
it was, well, one of the coaches didn't show up. I was like the team mom, and I know a lot about basketball. I love basketball, and there were some skills that I could teach him. Free throws, boxing out, things like that. I couldn't show him what his dad could show him. His dad would show him how to dunk and things like that, things that boys could do. And so I was still his mom. I was still his mom, like the game where I told him, this is my assistant coach was like, "Coach, are you sure about this?" I said, this isn't even about basketball anymore. This is a mom thing, and I suggest you stay out of it. But it was something where we could bond, where he wouldn't go to his dad about certain things. He could come to me and say, "Well, what about my free throw on this?" And, "Well, do it this way." And I was able to show him as opposed to coaching him like a dad. So I believe that has made a big bond with us. I cherish that. As not only being a mom, I love being a mom. It's the greatest thing on earth. But I was able to coach him and share in his successes. He was grounded this one night. I caught him in a lie, and his dad and I were separated at the time. And I said, I really need to put a punishment on this boy. and I don't know what to do. He said, take his Xbox from him or his PlayStation or whatever. And I said, oh, okay, we'll do that. And Azlan said, like that. But I could tell there was something that it wasn't a good punishment. And so I literally prayed about it. And I believe the Lord told me, he said, don't let him start in this next game. And I said, okay. And when I told him, you're not starting in the game tonight, tears just flew out of his face. And I was like, okay, gotcha. And so you're going to learn from this. So second half started, we were losing, and that boy got out there on that court because he was so missing it that he scored 23 points, and in one shot he jumped over one of the defenders. Jumped over the defender, pulled up for a three, and nailed it. I was like, what are you doing? So, yeah, that's one that comes to my memory. All of his games, he would do something, but that one, because I knew that he would do whatever he put his mind to. And, yeah, if he needed a little coaxing into doing it, then, yeah.
Tragedy comes in all shapes and sizes, and it comes in waves and droves. For Azlan, a huge wave of tragedy and trials would alter his life.
And I watched him as a young boy take care of his dad. He was very concerned about his dad, who was ill for a lot of years. And I think Azlan sacrificed a lot to make sure that his dad was okay. And I was proud of him for that.
It was an interesting time. I had a lot of good family support. I wasn't really a part of how childhood should look. I had to grow up very quickly with my father getting sick at a young age. But as I picked up the game, all I heard in my ear was, go run. Go run. And I'm like, here we go again. So even when I'm away from my dad, I can't get away from him. And so I'm like, man, get out of my ear. I'm not trying to hear this right now. I'm tired. I just had a good week of school. I ain't trying to hear this. So pick up the controller, about to start the game, and I hear, to be a champion, much is required. I'm like, okay, Dad, I hear you. All right, leave me alone now, okay? So then I heard, do your best. Just do your best. And he used to tell me that every day before he left. And so I'm like, man, I'm at college. Everybody else here is probably just as good as me, so I need to take it up a notch. So I was like, all right, man, you got to me, all right? So put the controller down, catch up with my friends, start running around campus. So I'm running, and it's a strong run. Like, it was a very strong run. I was very happy. I was very content with my first lap. We planned on running 2 laps. And so after the first lap, I was getting ready to start my second lap, and all of a sudden I just had this pain in my chest, and it felt like somebody just took a knife and just stabbed me in my chest. And I was like, so I just fell to my knees, and everybody turned around, they're like, you good? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I wasn't tired or anything. It was just like a really sharp, instant pain, and then it was gone. So I was like, that was weird. I don't know what it is. Maybe that club I was in a couple nights ago, all the smoke in there messed my chest up or something like that. So I was like, I'm good, let's go. So I take off, take a few steps, bow, again, same pain in my heart. And I dropped again, and I was like, I said, man, what is this? I was like, I don't know what this is, but it was kind of concerning me. So I said, look, I'm gonna go back to my dorm. And I looked at my friends. I said, can y'all walk back with me just in case something happens? And they're like, yeah, we got you, we got you. So walking back to my dorm, and I know when I got up to my dorm, I'm just out of breath. I'm just like, all right, I don't know what this is, but let me call my dad, check on him, see how he's doing. And short little side note, my mom never called me. She knows that I was trying to get away and that I can, she just tries to let me have my space. Now my dad, he was the one who was always calling me nonstop. Where you at? What you doing? What you getting to eat? Nonstop, you know? So, but when I looked at my phone, I had 9 missed calls from my mom. And in that time, I was like, something's wrong. Like something's not right. So I called my mom back, and she answered the phone, and she said, your dad's taking a turn for the worst. And my heart just immediately sunk. And I had never heard my mom sound like that, and it was, I knew something was wrong. And so I said, I had to gather myself, you know, I'm out of breath from running. I said, all right, I'm gonna call you back. So I hung up the phone, sat down, tried to process everything, and I called her back. I said, all right, what's going on? And she said, your dad's heart stopped. They're trying to resuscitate him. He's not coming back. And from that moment, I just knew. I knew at that point in time that he wasn't coming back. And I hung up the phone again, and I called my mom back, and I said, what's up? And she said, I'm pulling the plug in 1 minute. He's not coming back. And so I hung up the phone again. At this point, I'm on my knees crying. I'm screaming. I'm upset. And I called my friends back, and I said, hey man, can y'all come back? I think my dad's dying. And they like ran up to the room, and I called back, and right when I answered the phone, my mom answered the phone, I just heard it go flatline. And so I just asked her, I said, is he gone? Is it over? And she said, it's over. And from that moment on, I just became numb, and I just lost it. And you know, I was crying. I just told my mom, I didn't know what else to say, but I just said thank you for staying with him. And I said, I'll call you later. And I hung up the phone with her, and I just sat there on my bed for hours, and just sad, and just not knowing what just happened. And there were so many times before where he fought through it, and he was able to persevere, and this just wasn't one of those times. And every time before, I was right there with him, you know. And so now I'm thousands of miles away, and I couldn't be there with him for the last time. And I mean, even to this day, that's something that just sticks with me and just rubs me the wrong way, because that's just not who I am. If somebody's in need, somebody's hurting, I gotta be there for them. And I get that trait because of the way I lived, and because of my relationship with my father. And so it was really tough that night. And as I sat there for hours, I'm just thinking, I'm just like, man, how am I gonna get through this? I know I'm gonna get through it, but how? And I just happened to look over, and my ball was sitting right there. And I went outside, and usually late nights, weekends, everybody's on the court, you know, playing ball, trying to talk to girls, drinking, whatever. But nobody was out there. It was just me, God, and the basketball that night. And I sat outside, and I just shot around and cried and shot and cried and shot, and till about 3 a.m. And you know, I got the news the next day that he passed away from a heart attack. And so I came back home to be with my family. One of the toughest times I've ever gone through, but yeah. So, but yeah. One of the things that really influenced me is just how many people came up to me, after the funeral, and you think he makes an impact on you personally, but I mean, the thing that really surprised me and sticks with me to this day is how many of my friends, come up to me and say, yo, your dad helped you out, but he helped me out too. I listen to my friends say, some of my closest friends, they say, if it hadn't been for him, I wouldn't have played basketball. If it hadn't been for him, I wouldn't have got my life straight. If it hadn't been for him, such and such, and, which is such a key part in my life, because there was even a time where I thought he was paying attention to so many other kids that he wasn't paying attention to me, and that was a time that hurt, but, like I said, as we grow older and mature and understand a lot of different things, you realize, like, he helped as many people as he could. And to me, that's what life's about, to help, to serve others, and to, be the best person you can be. And every single day, no matter who my father came across, he was that person to that person. So that was a really thing. As I said, it's another trait I get from my father, trying to help out as much as I can. I see people struggle, or people, going through certain things, and I'm like, how can I help? It's just natural. It's just natural to me, And so, yeah, just that servant spirit my father had through and through, and that's one of the traits I've got from him, and I'm very grateful for. My father was one of those people who just the ultimate supporter. There were times when he was sick and in the hospital, and I'm like, you don't have to show up to this game, or you don't have to show up to this event. He would try to escape out the nursing home to come see me, but it's just support like that especially a lot of people, a lot of young black men in my community don't get to experience. That father figure, the love of their father, or the support of a father. And so I can honestly say, when it came to support from my family, I never lacked that at all, and I'm very grateful for that experience. But my father was amazing, just an amazing man, and it sucks that he's not here today, but I know that he fought every moment of his life, and he was he was a father. I wouldn't trade him for the world. So. As a young child, I was molested by an older cousin, an older girl cousin, and multiple times. And so during that time, I didn't really understand what was going on, or why this was happening, what it meant, or why this person would do this. And so it was something, like I said, that no kid should really experience. So much down the road where I'm like looking, I'm like, why am I so sexual? Why is my mind there? Why am I constantly in this battle with sex or lust or anything like that? And it was because of that time when I was molested, and I just put it away. I didn't deal with it. And so what was going on, I thought it was just okay. I thought it was okay to just let that slide, and it wasn't. And I've hurt myself. I've hurt other people through that pain that I could have handled a long time ago, but I was so afraid. And but by the grace of God, he got me out of it, and where I was able to open up and, share this with whoever may hear this, because it's something that really burdens you. In high school, we were going through a rough patch, just rough patch in life. Like, we couldn't pay rent. We got evicted out of our house, and I had a few deaths back to back to back. Almost missed a whole month of school, and got to our new place. Had enough money to get in, but didn't have enough money to turn the lights or hot water on. So, there were times when we had to boil water to take showers, to be clean. Nobody wants to take a cold shower so it'll be warm, and this is in the winter. It's not like it was in the summer where, if it was summer, we might have taken cold showers because it was hot outside, but we're in the dead of winter, and it's cold outside. We can't take cold showers, So we had to, boil hot water to take showers, and lights were off, so we had candles everywhere around the house. Looked like a scary movie walking around my house the entire time, floating candles everywhere. But it's another time that you thank God that he got you out that situation.
Well, I see God in Azlan's life in a lot of ways. I think the main piece of it is his willingness to be a light to his generation. And I think that's what's critical with him right now. He is, I think, more than willing to share his faith, to share his expertise, things of God. For a young man to want to mentor his age group is really something, to be a role model to them. And I think those are things that are inherent in him. He's had a good foundation with his parents, his mom and his dad, who really taught him both basketball and the spiritual aspect of his life. And I'm glad that I was a part of his life as far as the spiritual aspect is concerned, because I've seen him grow in so many different areas spiritually. And I think he's going to continue to grow. I think he's going to continue to allow God to use him. I don't see any being fake in Azlan at all. I think he is true to his calling and true to his faith. And I know that he wants to share that with his generation. So you're going to see a young man who I think in a couple of years or so is really going to stand out because of his dedication to God.
Most memorable Azlan moment. We were in Los Angeles, California. He was visiting me, and we were in the ocean, and we were having a good time. And I just slowly started walking in the water, and the water went from my waist to my chest plate to my chin hair to almost my nose. And I just hear Azlan "Bro, what are you doing? Going home to Jesus?" You had to be there, but it was hilarious. If I didn't drown, I almost drowned because I was cracking up. So it's probably one of my most memorable Azlan moments. Azlan was my first male friend, my first friend period, my age, to really push me towards the things of God and hold me accountable to the things of God. And I think understand me in a way that other people don't because of that piece. A lot of people don't understand how I made some of the changes that I made, or why I behaved the way that I behaved, or why I live such a routine, strict life. Strict, so to speak. I wouldn't call it strict, but other people would. And Azlan understands that. And Azlan actually helped facilitate that and push me, because when we really became best friends, I was on the fence. I was one leg into fully loving God and living that out, and one leg into screw that. And Azlan pushing me over the fence into fully giving my life to Christ and living that thing out every day. It's just real. For example, I went to his house and I went in his bedroom, and on his wall he had prayers for me, for his mom, for other people, just written out on his wall. And I don't think he did that just because he knew I was coming over, because I think I came over spontaneously, because that's the kind of stuff that I do. And yeah, that's just one example, but it's not just fallacy or theory. I actually see him like living this thing out day in and day out. And that doesn't mean he's perfect. That doesn't mean anybody's perfect, but he definitely has a heart to live this thing out. Yes, Azlan. I don't want to say this because this is not what you should say as a Christian, but I'm saying it anyway. You know what I mean. Azlan like is basketball. Like he's done that. I've seen pictures of Azlan like the day he could walk, dunking the basketball in one of those little kid basketball hoops. He's grown up with it. He understands it. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I almost see them as two synonymous things, and this still doesn't answer the question, but he's just so strong. Like his basketball story is like so powerful, like getting completely sick and then like bouncing back and then going to college and bouncing back. And then the reality is Azlan is 25 years old, and most people at 25 years old are like, basketball career over. I'm going to go play at the rec center. I'm going to play for the church league, and that's all I'm going to do. But Azlan still has aspirations and dreams of getting that contract and fighting to make his basketball career possible. And that's just amazing to me.
He came to me one day and was just like, man, I need to get my life right with God. And I said, okay. I said, I'll help you. I said, but you got to choose to do it on your own. He said, this is a you and God relationship that you have to build personally. He's like, all right. And I mean, from that day, he turned his life around. And I mean, he's just one of the most amazing people I've ever met. His testimony motivates me every single day. And with his wife and his now almost 1-year-old daughter, they're just such a blessing to me. So, doing uncle duties, Kaylani eating, life of Uncle Azlan. Mm-hmm. You good, Kaylani? She just munching away.
Personally, I think, and I'll tell him, and I've told him this before, he's an excellent player. But you cannot wait for things to happen. You have to make things happen. You can't wait for somebody to throw the ball to you. You have to be in a position for the ball to get to you. And so if there's one thing that I've seen in him, he's got to make things happen on the court. Just like sometimes you have to make things happen in life. In other words, you have to be in the right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm. And I've told him that he doesn't want to hear, there's no crying in basketball.
Yeah.
And we've seen him cry after losing a game and whatever, and so there's no crying in basketball. And he told me Michael Jordan cried one time in basketball. I said, there's still no crying in basketball. He wants our approval of what he's doing, and that's a good thing, because in his maturing, we've noticed that he understands and recognizes what wisdom is. And there's a difference in knowledge and wisdom. And I think he looks to us, as well as his mom, for wisdom in making decisions. So that's what I've noticed in his maturing.
And what I've noticed in his maturing, and you mature here a little, there a little. It takes time to mature, and what I've seen in him is being able to take responsibility for not only what he does, but what he says he's going to do. So, kind of like being a man of your word. You say you're going to do something, do it.
Well, I've seen him grow to become into a leader. And I think that's what basketball has brought out of him, the leadership qualities that were in him. And I think it was the basketball portion that has brought that out of him. He leads in a lot of different areas. And I think one thing that basketball may have helped him to do was to be a mentor to other kids, to other people. And that is part of what basketball does. If you're really a good player, you really want to share that. And I think that's what basketball has helped Azlan do, not only to share his basketball skills, even with my own personal son, but also the dedication of being the best that he can be. And I think that basketball portion has spilled over into the rest of his life. And he is a very dedicated young man.
To me, what I've learned is that I have really identified myself as a basketball player, and I'm more than that. And so basketball is probably, if not one of the most biggest pieces of my life. However, I'm not a basketball player. I'm a child of God. I'm a man of God who happens to know how to play basketball. And so earlier on in my life, in my teenage years, that's what I identified myself with, was being a basketball player. And in that, my identity was cut short. And what I mean by that is I limited myself to just that. And in that, I put a lot of pressure on myself to be this player or be this known basketball player who knew how to play the game, or was very smart in the game. And that's just how I was seen. And I allowed myself to think that's all I was. And when I have many more talents, like I play the saxophone, I write poetry, you know, I love to cook, you know, I love to speak in front of kids, I love kids. There's so many other things I have to offer. However, today what I've realized is that I can use basketball as a way to do those other things that I want to do, and all those other gifts that God has given me, and just another way to give him glory. And so to me, basketball, my perception of basketball has really changed in the sense of I know who I am, and just a basketball player just isn't just me. That's not all I have to offer. And so, yes, it's a big part of my life. Yes, it's been at some point the biggest part of my life. And when I say the biggest part of my life, I mean basketball was before God. And that's not good. But he has given me this gift that I love, and I'm willing to perfect and willing to craft it. So until I can't play no more, I'm going to keep playing. And it's like I say, for that, basketball is a way for me to honor God. And it's been joyous through the ups and downs, for not playing ball since, not playing consistent ball since I was in high school, not playing one college game or anything like that. But, me being able to try out for the NBA in September was a blessing. It was something to be as close as I was to making the team. It just really motivated me. And I said, okay, I'm supposed to be here. So I guess the question for me was that I had to learn over these past few months. I had to really ask myself was, is it basketball that identifies you? Is that what you're identified by? Or are you identified as a man of God who happens to play basketball? And the most important thing to me was to know that God was the one who gave me this gift. And so I had to identify myself as a man of God who just happens to know how to play basketball. So that's what that's been.
So I ask you, what does it mean to not give up? How do you handle tough situations? Where do you turn when you feel like you've hit rock bottom? Will you stay down or get up? Will you fight or continue to get stepped on? Who will you be?
Big dreams. All right, so this is going to be in all seriousness of, what my dreams and my desires and my goals are. The next 5 years, my grandma asked me this all the time we go out to eat. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? And so in 5 years, I do see myself playing in the NBA. I do see myself being married and having a family. I do see myself financially stable and successful. Mind you, listen to what I said. I said financially successful, okay? I also see myself spreading the word of God across the world. I really do see myself doing that. I believe the platform of playing at the level that I want to play at will allow me to do that, but I want to do that whether I'm playing at that level or not. And so as far as my desires to do that is very high. So I want to be able to place myself in the position and place myself in the atmosphere and in the places I need to be in order to do that. It's something I think about every day. There's times I can't sleep at night because I'm thinking about how am I going to attain this goal? How am I going to get to this place? How am I going to get to that place to get to my main goal? I don't like calling myself or anybody, for that matter, a dream chaser, because at some point you chase something so much and it just overtakes you and it consumes you, and then it can drive you crazy. I like to call myself a dream obtainer, where I'm obtaining my dreams and I'm getting it. I'm not chasing it. And so I believe that in the next 5 years, that's where I'll see myself. So I want y'all to remember this time when I said this. This is 2019. So in the next 5 years, y'all see me maybe dunking on LeBron or something. You know, he might be out the league by that point, but dunking on LeBron or something, but being very happy and content with the lifestyle that I'm in, and I'm speaking it into existence too. So 5 years, NBA, married, little Azlan, little Papa Chulo running around. That's me.
That's good. Okay, so last thing. Pretend the camera's Azlan. Now speak some words of affirmation into him.
Shut up. Shut up and do it. Shut up and do it. Do it. Because you know who you are. You know who God created you to be. You're a freaking miracle, literally. So just shut up and make it happen so we can all be like, oh, Azlan. You can be like, no, it was Jesus. And then everybody will love Jesus and people will start following Jesus because they see your story.
Amen. Thank you, man.
Azlan, I've seen you grow, and I know that you're going to continue to grow. One thing that I know that you will do is be a light to this generation. And don't let anybody take that light out. Don't let anyone steal from you the gifts that God has put inside you. Don't get sidetracked with things that really don't fit who you are and the things that are not worthy of your time. Stay away from those things that will pull you away from who you are in Christ. I know you're a great man. I know you have a great future, and I'm going to continue to pray for you. And I know that we have some wonderful things in store that God's going to do through us as a team. So you keep your head up, continue to be positive, continue to let your light shine, continue to let others know that you live for God. And I know that God's going to show himself mighty in your life. You just keep up the good work, man. You're on a good road. You're going in the right direction, and you will see God move in a mighty way in your life. So keep your head up, my brother. God loves you, and so do I.
One thing that I would say to Azlan Williams right now is pretty much, man, just stay focused. And, everything doesn't come overnight, The best things, What was that saying? It takes, 3 days to build a Honda Accord, but it takes 8 months to build a Maybach or something like that. Man, you just gotta understand, man. Everything good don't come overnight, You just gotta be patient, which I know you are. We all go through some stuff, and if anybody can get through it, I know you're the one that can get through it. So, man, don't let none of that little stuff faze you.
If I could say anything to Azlan right now, what would it be? Azlan, my man, keep going, keep grinding, keep pushing. No matter what anybody says, you still have that goal in mind, so you just keep going for it, man. And also, one last thing. Go get a haircut, player. Head looking like a bowl of grits out here in these streets. Terrible.
I always told him growing up that there will always be somebody that is bigger, better, faster, stronger, cuter, whatever, than you. And I prayed over him. I definitely prayed over him. And I told him that when you seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, then all these things will be added unto you. Keep your eyes on the Lord. Period. I don't care what you're doing, where you're going. And I told him one day, and he kind of like looked at me. I said, "You're not a basketball player." And he's like, "What?" And I said, "You just happen to be, you're a godly young man that just happens to know how to play basketball. Don't get it twisted. You're not a ball player. You're a godly young man that is after God's kingdom that just happens to play basketball very well." And so when basketball is gone, the Lord is still there. The Lord is still there. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And so I believe and I hope, and my prayer is that if I haven't given him anything, I've given him Christ, because that's all he needs.
Okay, son, this is what I want you to do. If you say you're going to call me back, call me back. If you can't get in all of what you want to, what you have to say, tell me so and tell me you'll get back with me later. Just don't not call at all, leaving me hanging, wondering what's going on. When it's very easy to call and take up 60 seconds and say, "Papa, listen, I'm gonna have to get back with you later." And so with that being said, I'll talk with you later. So that's one thing. And then I want you to be on time. If you have an appointment with me, be on time, son. And if you're gonna be late, give me plenty of opportunity to let me know you're gonna be late. And if you're not gonna show, call me, not at the last minute, but as soon as possible. Don't interrupt my time because of your being late or not showing.
Okay, that was Mr. Disciplinarian. I want to say to you, Azlan, that I love you and I appreciate you, and you are dear to my heart, and I believe that as you take on more and more responsibility for yourself and not depending on your mom for anything, but know that you are the man and you can do it. You can make it on your own, and you will make it on your own by the grace of God. I also want to remind you that through Christ all things are possible, and there is absolutely nothing too hard for God. So continue to trust him, continue to lean not to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path.
Showing love, that's right. You big man, stand on that side. Snakes live where the grass high. Bounce to the left, they don't wanna act right. Break them up, look at all them.